NAMB Focus is, as you said, January 11th to the 13th in Orlando at Margaritaville. Our first 2 days, the 11th and the 12th, which is a Thursday and Friday, we have a big lineup of speakers. We have Carl White. We have yourself, Barry Habib. We're going to have Neil Dingra with Forward Academy. We have 2 sessions with Freddie Mac. One is actually focused on refinance business. So I will say this, in my personal opinion, the best month to go to Florida is in January.
Okay.
Because there is no humidity. It's great temperatures. There's not a lot of tourists, so you can have the full Florida experience. Yes, you can see some palm trees. You can go to a park. You're not going to fight 8 million lines and be sweating to death. You can actually enjoy yourself.
Hi, and welcome to the Loan Officer Teen Training Podcast. I'm Irene Duford, your host, and I have a really special guest today. Her name is Valerie Saunders, and she is the president of the National Association of Mortgage Brokers. And so I'd like to welcome you today, Valerie. Thanks for being with us.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for asking me to be a part of this.
So I'm really excited because we're going to talk about what NAMB is, NAMB, the National Association of Mortgage Brokers. It's a great association. Can you tell us a little bit about the association and why it's so valuable to the loan officers and mortgage brokers?
Sure. This is actually our 50th anniversary. We've been around since 1973. Over the last 50 years, NAMB and its leadership and members have been devoted to the advocacy of its members, whether that is legislatively in Washington, D.C., or providing resources and tools through education, member benefits, events, networking opportunities to its members, so that the community that we create realizes that we are here for support and assistance and representation within their mortgage career and the industry.
Mm-hmm. That's really important that we have representation. So how do you, as president, how do you represent? Like, what do you do? There's a lot of people that don't know how it works. So maybe you could tell us a little bit of background about how you represent legislatively and how often you go and things like that.
Sure. So we have a lobby firm. They are called the Williams Group. They are in Washington, D.C., and they are representing the association on a daily basis. They are always staying on top of anything that might be coming out of the House or Senate, or even might be contemplated within the various members of Congress or our government agencies like the CFPB, HUD, VA, the GSEs, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, anything that has to do with the mortgage process, which obviously is a very big thing. They sort of are our feet on the street and our eyes within Washington, D.C. And we are staying in contact with them on a daily basis. So if something happens, they're notifying us. Obviously, a big thing that we're talking about right now is the speaker, because although that may not necessarily be mortgage focused, nothing is happening because there's no speaker. So, all of the initiatives that we have as an industry are kind of at a standstill because you got to have a speaker. So, we are always there, and we're always looking and staying on top of. And I also, want to say it's not just limited to our lobby firm. NAMB is actively involved in various trade associations besides our own. For example, we are part of the Industry Advisory Council for ARMOR, which is the American Association of Residential Mortgage Regulators. So it is the association for state regulators. We are actively participating there. We're talking about things that are happening within NMLS. We're talking about what's happening on a state level.
Mhm.
Obviously, things can happen a lot quicker from a legislative perspective or a process perspective on a state level. And those are going to have a more immediate impact on us as loan originators or mortgage broker or mortgage lender businesses. So we're also staying connected on that level as well.
Well, that's really good stuff. It's things that loan officers don't normally think about on a day-to-day basis. And I don't think we give enough credit to NAM and the associations and the lobbyists and everybody who's helping us out on the legislative level, especially. And it's because everyone's busy and they're not thinking about it. But I want to bring an awareness to it because I think it's really important. We do our lives, right? We have our busy lives and we do our lives and we don't even realize what's going on behind the scenes. And we just I really appreciate the fact that you take a lot of your own time to do this and to volunteer. So have you always been passionate about volunteering, or is that something that you just decided since you were in mortgages?
I first got in the industry back in 1993. I was actually studying for my oral exams for my master's. I have a master's in historical administration.
Okay.
So, I could be working in the basement of a dusty museum right now. That didn't happen, but I took a temp job, happened to be at a mortgage company while I was studying for my oral exams. And once I completed that, got my degree, I was out there competing with people who had been in the industry for 20 years. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to really get my foot in the door in a paying position with my degree. But I did get offered a job by the mortgage company that I was working for. And so, yeah, I started with them. I started, copying files and doing, menial post-closing tasks that people didn't want to do. And then it sort of mushroomed into doing some processing, post-closing, closing, and it's just kind of continued on down that path. But it wasn't until 1997 when I was actually working at a title company and somebody said, "Oh, hey, we need somebody to go to the local local chapter. They're having meetings.
Uh-huh.
Why don't you go and see if you can get us business?" So I went, and they were looking for volunteers to work on a newsletter. And I'm like, "Oh, that's something I could do."
Hmm.
I am a person that volunteers. I like to stay busy. I do not like to have idle hands. I am, I guess, definitely an overachiever in that department. And so I volunteered. And from that point forward, I just continue to stay more actively involved. And, it's kind of like anything that you get more involved in, you get connected to the people
Yes.
and what's happening around you, and you see the effect that you're having on the industry. And this is probably all this stuff is dating myself, but anyway, in 2003, when RESPA was changing, we did a big letter writing campaign, so I worked on that. Then you had where they were trying to make yield spread premiums illegal. And so as you continuously get more and more involved, you start doing more stuff. And then in 2007, I live in Florida. So I was always actively involved within that state association, committee
Uh-huh.
chair. I don't know, whatever you needed me to do, I would do it. I got on their executive board, and I basically kind of got fast tracked because the person who was our president at that time wound up getting elected to the Florida House.
Oh, wow.
And I went from treasurer straight into president-elect. And the Speaker of the House said, "Hey, you cannot be the president of a trade association and be a state legislator." So he wound up having to step down. And
Okay.
so in 2008, I became president. And of course, we all know what
Uh-huh.
happened in 2008.
Yes.
So then we have the downturn in the economy. We start getting all of these legislative fixes coming from Washington, D.C., which of course are trickling down to the state legislature, getting more involved with Dodd-Frank and the SAFE Act and the implementations of the things within the SAFE Act. And, it just sort of mushroomed from that. And from that experience, where I was on a daily basis, either working with our Florida Office of Financial Regulation or the, House Subcommittee for Banking and Insurance, or the Senate Banking and Insurance Committee, or our lobbyists, trying to figure out how to implement the minimum standards of SAFE into our state lending law. And of course, I had a lot of very scared people.
Of course.
Because, if you'd been in the business for 20 years or 25 years, and now somebody tells you, hey, we're going to all of a sudden start pulling your credit. You're going to have to take a test.
Yes.
You're going to have to do these things. Oh, yeah. And by the way, we just have had one of the largest financial crises in our lifetime. They're looking for a life preserver. And so I kind of became that life preserver. And so I made it my job to be extremely familiar with state lending laws, federal lending laws, the people in NMLS, CFPB, all of this stuff, because if I'm going to be viewed as a resource, I'm going to know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
And so from that, it just, a natural transition in my mind was from state to national. And once again, I'm an overachiever in volunteering. So volunteered for a lot of stuff within national. I've been their government affairs chair several times.
Wow.
I also, for my local chapter and for my state association, did events, including trade shows. So then I started also doing trade shows for national. Since 2003, I was also very actively involved in education. I have been a course writer for NMLS, and then prior to that for the state of Florida classes. I've taught pre-licensing and continuing education, and
oh man,
and all of that. So anyway, like I said, I'm a volunteer overachiever.
I love that. That's a new term, volunteer overachiever.
but I'm a really good multitasker. I don't have necessarily a problem saying no. I just don't like to say no. If I can do it, I'll do it. If you ask me a question and you need help and I can help you, I will do it. And so that sort of pattern really showed me that it was necessary back in 2008. And for the last 15 years, I have followed that same mantra. So if you need something and I can help you, I will help you.
That is so awesome. And what an awesome thing for the president of the National Association of Mortgage Brokers to have that kind of mentality. That says a lot about the organization, because it starts at the top, right? Any organization starts at the top, and however your mindset, your mentality is about anything, it trickles down to the members. And so we're really lucky to have you as president with that kind of mentality in mind to help people. You're all about helping people. Obviously, I was getting tired listening to all of the wonderful things. I was exhausted.
I was starting to run out of breath there.
And I'm sitting there. I wasn't tired of hearing it. I was tired just thinking about all the work that you've done in volunteering. My goodness, it puts the rest of us to shame, right?
Well, and it's a lot. Oddly enough, I used to have a huge fear of public speaking.
Really?
A giant fear. Yes. Oh God. I like when I was, how when you're in grade school, I think it's about 6th, 7th grade, they make you get up and start, doing debate type things, or just reading and, whatever you've written in front of a group I mean, that was just like mortifying to me. But obviously I've gotten over that. I have spoken to state legislature. I have, have traveled around the country and spoke. I'm very comfortable. It doesn't matter what the size. It could be one person. It could be 10,000. I don't care. As long as I feel confident in what I'm talking about.
That's
So,
the key, right?
yes.
Yep. Yes. And you are confident because you know what you're doing. You have volunteered so much. You've been to so many different committees and oh my goodness, just I can't imagine the knowledge that you have in your head of all the things that you've covered in all the years you've been in the mortgage business. So I love that you've been in the mortgage business so long. So I got into it in 97. I started out working for a broker in a small community in Arizona. I loved it from the minute I got in it, but I got no training at all. No training. I was promised by the broker, oh yeah, we'll show you all this stuff. We'll train you. I'll show you. Didn't, nothing, got nothing from it. So the training is really important. How have you trained your loan officers and people that you've been involved with over the years? How did you see training going?
So as far as my loan originators go, I will say this. I'm extremely picky about who my loan originators are, because the reason why is I can never say no that I didn't know. I didn't know. I can't say that. When I became responsible, or I guess I felt I was responsible for knowing all of these things and for writing classes. And I can never say I didn't know,
Right.
because chances are I knew.
You knew.
So I'm very, very picky about my loan originators. And so the people that I have surrounding me within my business are all extremely knowledgeable. So I didn't really have to train them. However, I do see the value of training other people, which is why I got, involved in the education aspect within my state association and within my national association, because people, once again, need somebody to ask a question to. If you call your state regulator, chances are they're just going to read to you what's in the statute or in the rule. They're not going to explain it. That's not their job. Same with if now, luckily in the last 20 years, the volume of information and access to information is overwhelming. So you should be able to find an answer. But if you can't find an answer, having a person or a place to find an answer is a comforting thing within the industry.
Yes.
So I think that's why when like the classes I write are they're probably information overload, mainly because I want them to be viewed as a resource. I don't want to have to put something together to take the multitude of hours it takes to write a class and get a class approved and then present a class and have other people presenting the class and not have it contain valuable information. I don't want you to just toss it away when it's over. So I think that is another huge benefit of a trade association, whether that's on your local level or state level or national level. Chances are you have people within the industry looking to educate people within the industry. And so, between our continuing education classes, our what I call career enrichment, NAMB has several certifications that we offer that are on specific products. We have our FHA certification that's sponsored by Freedom Mortgage. We have a reverse mortgage certification sponsored by Liberty Reverse. We have a veterans certification. We have, in addition, residential lending type certifications, elevated certifications, to show your commitment to the industry as a profession. So I think I got way off track of your question, but anyway, I think a lot of companies maybe don't have the resources or the time or ability to offer training to their loan originators. And so an association is a great way to do that. Number one, it's going to give you not a company specific version of the information. And it's also going to give you a network of people to communicate with once that education is over.
Yes, that's a big deal.
Yes.
It's meeting other people and sharing ideas, best practices, things like that. It's really important. As a coach of loan originators for years now, for the last 11 years, I've been coaching loan originators through the Freedom Club with Carl White. I noticed that there was a big need, not just to train that, like we do that, we do the training for marketing and growing their business and all of that. But there was a huge need for training their teams because we really believe that having a team is what makes the difference. It allows you to get out and grow your business more. And so there was no training for the teams. And so that's why I started the company, Loan Team Training, for the staff of the team. So we started out teaching them, we call it the WOW class, and we're teaching them to wow clients and referral partners, but with systems, processes, mindset, all of those things. It's very different than most classes that you would watch. But that's why we did it, is because there was a huge need for something like that. And there's a lot of loan originator stuff, but there's not a lot for the training of the staff and the
Mhm.
teams. And so that's why we did it. But that's why I'm passionate about that, is because I was never trained. I didn't know what I was doing. And I have a funny story, and I'm sure the listeners have heard this story before, but I have to tell you because you were talking about not having any training when you first came on and what happened in 2008. So in 2010, I think that's the year we had to get licensed, right? If we weren't
Yeah.
licensed yet.
In
So
MLS.
in Arizona, they didn't make us get licensed. Some states you had to, but in Arizona you didn't have to. And so here I was managing a team. I had loan officers, I had a big staff, I had all these people, and I had no license. And I realized that I had never had to take a test for a job since I graduated from high school. Never had to take a test to get a job. And all of a sudden, all these people were depending on me. I was the branch manager. And I got scared. I thought to
Yeah.
myself, what if I don't pass the test? All these people are depending on me. Anyway, I used my self-talk. I really went into my mindset and I put affirmations up on on my desk and everywhere. I will pass the exam. I will pass. And I used my self-talk for that. But I really went into a panic mode for a few minutes. I thought, what am I going to do if I don't pass? And
Yeah.
all these people are depending on me. Oh my goodness. And I had never realized up to that point that I never had to take a test to get a job before, but I had to take a test to keep this job. So
Right.
needless to say, I passed. But it was the
Yeah.
self-talk. It was the affirmations and believing that it could happen. And I just kept telling myself, you can do this. I mean, that I've already been in the business since 97. So it's not like I didn't know, but all these rules and regulations were all brand new. And so it was not an easy test to take if you've never had to worry about it before. But luckily I passed. But I just thought that's a funny story. It's scary.
Yeah.
It can be scary.
Oh yeah, I mean, I remember because I was, teaching pre-licensing, and obviously I had a lot of people that were coming to me asking me questions just because of, all of, my over involvement in what was going on. And yeah, you were definitely not alone. I think the people that were scared the most were the ones that had been in the business the longest,
Yes.
because when you're doing something for so long, it's like second nature, like riding a bike. You
Yes.
don't think about, I have to do the pedals, I have to do the brakes. It's just
Uh-huh.
you just do it. And
Hmm.
also on top of that, some people just are not good test takers. Some
That's
people
true.
panic, some people get in there and get so bogged down and overwhelmed with just the overall process. You're sitting there, you had to stare at the screen, so we're like telling people, mark the boxes, go back and double check. You've got 3 hours or whatever it was to take the test. You don't have to get done in 30 minutes. And so it's just, it was definitely a mental mind game, I guess,
It was.
for a lot of people at that time. And,
Yes.
I mean, I did know some people that didn't pass.
Hmm.
Um, and of course, they got the opportunity to retake it and they wound up, passing the second time. But still, it was like just the overall panic of, do I really know what I'm doing?
Yes. It is.
And of course too, they just had some things in there that weren't things that are normal
Right.
everyday use.
Yes.
It was a regulator's version of what they thought was most important, I guess I would say.
That's a
And
great way to describe it. It wasn't about how to do loans. It was about regulations is really what it was
correct.
about. And I
Yeah,
haven't
if there was a
taken
date,
it.
remember it. If there, because also too,
Yes.
like, I mean, I've written tons of test questions. What are the easiest test
Mhm.
questions to write? The
Yep.
ones with dates or,
Yes.
specific years or whatever. Those are very simple. So it was an interesting time.
It was an interesting time. And I'm glad they have to take a test before they come in now, but it still doesn't teach them how to be loan officers just because they took a test. It's the everyday challenge of learning how to be a loan officer. But what's difficult is we need a lot of new blood coming in, loan officers coming in. We need a lot of younger people to get involved in the loan business. But what makes it really hard is the test, number one, and also finding someone that will hire you when you don't have experience. That is, you and I are the same. I stopped hiring people without experience when I was running a branch because it just takes too much time. But now
Yeah.
there's places that they can go to learn the loan business. There's different training companies and things like that. We have a course called Loan Assistant Mortgage Training Boot Camp, and it's a boot camp, but it's teaching loan partners or loan assistants how to do loans from if they've never done them before. But a newer loan officer could take it as well. So there's different training courses that people can take, and if they have the right attitude and they learn quickly, they can learn the mortgage business. And even if they start out as an assistant somewhere and then get into it, but education is really important, and it's a powerful thing to be able to learn all the things that you need to learn to be a great originator or to be a great assistant to an originator. Because if you have an assistant, and I hate to call them assistants, we call them loan partners. If the loan partner is really, really good at what they do, man, do they free up that loan officer to go get business. It's huge. It's a really big thing. So I am grateful to be able to share in the training of loan assistants and loan partners. I really enjoy it. I'm passionate about it because I never got the training.
It's important. I mean, it's important to remember there's so many different aspects of the mortgage industry. If you are uncomfortable with the sales aspect of loan origination, because really still at the end of the day, yes, we need to know rules and regulations. We need to know our disclosures. We need to know the processes, but it's still sales.
It's sales for
you're-
sure.
If you're not comfortable with that aspect, don't think that you're not cut out for the industry, because there are so many other facets of it
Yes.
that you can get involved in, whether that is being an LO partner, whether that's being a processor, an underwriter, post-closing.
Yes.
I mean, there's just servicing. I mean, there's just so many different parts of it. You have to find what's best for you. So just because one thing doesn't work doesn't mean that you should just give up.
I agree.
There is a place for you. You just have
Yes.
to find your place and find your people.
Yeah.
Do you have a loan partner who does the loan consultations, structures the loan, and converts the buyer to work with you? Or maybe you have a loan partner or a team member that you would like to move into that position so that you can be freed up to go get even more loans. How about a newer loan officer who could benefit from some training in how to convert buyers to work with them? Our client conversion training is very specific to this role. It will help them convert even more clients to work with you and your team. We help you to be seen as a trusted advisor. We cover every aspect of converting clients to work with you. They're going to learn emotional intelligence, what it is and how to utilize it. They'll discover the key to a success mindset. Yep, we go deep on this one. How to build rapport right from the first conversation. How to ask the right questions. How to answer objections. Specific dialogues and strategies to overcome rate shoppers. They're going to practice live with other class members. And they're going to also learn how to ask for and receive referrals. How to master the loan consultation with loan strategies that help the buyer make great decisions for their future. Client conversion training will set your team apart. when they implement the training that they're going to receive in our class. It's a virtual interactive class on Zoom with live trainers, and your team members can attend from wherever they are as long as they have audio and video. Everyone participates. It's a 10-hour live class divided into 2.5-hour sessions from 9 to 11:30 on Thursday and Friday for 2 weeks in a row. Sign up your loan partner today at loanteamtraining.com. You'll find the class on the Client Conversion Training tab.
You know, we talked about mindset. So mindset's really important. Setting and reaching your goals and having a great mindset to do that is really important. But what's one thing that you think you feel like you're intentional about to have a really good mindset about, like what you say to yourself and how you monitor what goes on, you know, in your mind?
I don't necessarily have anything specific in relation to the industry. I mean, I have self-doubt, and I have worries, and I have, concerns and questioning myself, just like everybody else. Just because you've been in the business for a long time doesn't mean you're not going to make a mistake, and I think it's taking those mistakes or challenges or bumps in the road and learning how to overcome them, or put that in your, bag of experiences, kind of use it moving forward. Just because you see somebody that's put themselves out there doesn't mean that they don't, question
That's right.
themselves on a daily basis.
Yes.
Why am I coming here today? So some days are good, some days are bad, so I think it's just, I really believe that having a positive attitude is key. The moment that you allow that negative part to creep in, it can really just overtake you. And, I definitely have that. And I have to kind of mentally slap myself and be like, look, come on, what happens when you have a negative attitude. And I'm not I definitely am not that cheery, Snow White singing with birds or whatever. That is definitely not me. But I'm also, so I have to remind myself, yes, the glass is half full sometimes. Yes, it's going to be half empty, but it's going to be okay. And
yes.
And I am my own worst enemy. I'm definitely very hard on myself, but I got to get over it and move on and keep on going.
Yeah. I like to refer to it as, every once in a while when we're really down and things have been piling up, it's okay to give yourself a little bit of a pity party, is what I call it, for a couple minutes, or 10 minutes or 15 minutes, maybe a half hour, whatever, where we cry, we get through the emotion and all of that. And then we pick ourselves back up and say, okay, I can do this. I got my emotions out. I got whatever I needed to get done. I let it happen, because I don't think you can just shove your feelings down. But you can once in a while let them come up and then just say, okay, I'm over now. It's time to move on, and kind of catch ourselves when we're in that spot. So I like to refer to it that way, because we do have those times, right? There's nobody that's above that, or beyond that, I should say. Everyone has something that they struggle with, everybody. And so we just have to work on it. And like you said, having a positive attitude, what we expose ourselves to makes a big difference too.
Yeah.
If we're watching the news all the time, that's what we're going to be thinking about. But if we're trying to find better ways, like for you, you're educating people, you're representing people as president, and you're helping the loan officer community. And so that can keep you positive because of that. Because look at what you're doing every day. It's service. Every single day, it's service. And you have a lot of things. Like you said, you're a multitasker, you're volunteering, you're president of a title insurance company, you're the broker of your business, you have a lot going on. So what do you do each day? Do you have like a morning routine that you go through that helps you stay positive, or, feeling good?
Well, my typical morning routine is, first of all, as the owner of a business, the best thing about that is I do not have to get to work at 9 o'clock.
That's right.
So I now am to the point where I do not leave my house until 9 o'clock, because then all the traffic has gone by. I stop at my local Starbucks. I have, my typical drink. I usually get to the office by 10, but I just I'm not a list person. I am, like I said, I'm a multitasker. So I am just looking for what needs to be done at that moment. I look for what conference calls or meetings I need to have done, and then I kind of just work my way around it. But I'm also not a person that stops at 5 o'clock. I often refer to myself as 7-Eleven. I'm open 24/7, 365. I get a lot of things done at night. I do reserve time for myself in the evening and on the weekends, and I'll do stuff. And, but I also, it's a good time to get caught up on things and the things I want to get caught up on.
Right. No, that makes sense.
But,
Yeah.
I'm pretty just focused on doing what I need to do, but also doing what I want to do.
That's great. I love that. So I just want you to know how much I'm on behalf of all of the loan officers, loan originators, people in the business. We're so grateful for what you do and your service that you give, because not everybody's willing to do that. I've never done it. So I'm grateful that we have people like you representing us. So I appreciate that. And it's the 50th anniversary of NAMB. And we have a great event coming up, the NAMB Focus 2024 on January 11th through the 13th. And it's in, how do you pronounce the city? Kissimmee?
It's called Kissimmee. It's part of Orlando.
Okay.
It's at Margaritaville, and it's kind of nestled between Universal Studios and Disney World.
Oh boy.
So I will say this, in my personal opinion, the best month to go to Florida is in January.
Okay.
Because there is no humidity. It's
that.
great temperatures. There's not a lot of tourists, so you can have the full Florida experience. Yes, you can see some palm trees. You can go to a park. You're not going to fight 8 million lines and be sweating to death. You can actually enjoy yourself.
That's
so
great.
I highly encourage, if people are, going to come to attend, especially if you're going to go out of town, stay for the weekend.
Definitely.
And, experience all that Florida has to offer. But yes, so NAMB Focus is, as you said, January 11th to the 13th in Orlando at Margaritaville. Our first 2 days, the 11th and the 12th, which is a Thursday and Friday, we have a big lineup of speakers. We have Carl White. We have yourself, Barry Habib. We're going to have Neil Dingra with Forward Academy. We have 2 sessions with Freddie Mac. One is actually focused on refinance business.
Great.
Believe it or not, obviously the huge difference between 08 and 23 is our property values are maintaining, or in some markets slightly increasing. I know in Florida here we're a little bit insulated from this time, luckily, knock on wood, from decreased property values. And rates are, projected to start, going down in 24 into 25. And so it's a good time to, look at how what is available and what is the market and who is out there that is not just mortgage ready, but also refi ready. So we're going to have that. And we're just constantly adding speakers. So we're going to have 2 days of very career enrichment, educational resource focused speakers. We'll also have sponsors as well that you can mingle with. And then on Saturday, we'll have one of our certification classes, which is our Certified Veteran Lending Specialist class. So that'll be our first one for 2024. And then once you pass your test Saturday night, go to a park and, enjoy yourself.
And enjoy.
Yes, and enjoy.
Oh, that's great. So the name of it is Focus. It's an annual marketing, sales, and tech conference, which is awesome. So I hope that people will take advantage of this and go, because it's a great event. They're going to learn a lot of things and they can find one thing that they can take back with them and implement, because it's all about implementing, right? Our knowledge is great, education is great, but we've got to go implement what we learn. So they're going to have lots of choices of what they can go back and implement after this. So what is the cost?
We have a discount code. It's Focus 2024, which makes it free.
Awesome.
The only thing that is not free is on Thursday and Friday, we will have lunch with our sponsors. You're not required to purchase the lunch, but if you would like to purchase the lunch, it's $50. And then on Saturday, our education class does have an expense to it because obviously it is a certification. It's a 2-year certification. So you'll, besides getting the knowledge, you'll also have the certification and all the marketing tools that go along with that once you pass the test and obtain the certification. So that has a different rate, member versus non-member.
Okay. All right, great. So it doesn't even cost anything. It's free, and they need to go because it's really important that they get this information. And you need to get that shot in the arm. It's about right around the right time in January to get that shot in the arm. We're ready to go. And this is going to propel you as loan originators into the 2024, which would be really great. And who doesn't want to be by Disney, right?
Yeah,
To
absolutely.
have fun before or afterwards. So that's great. So we will put all of that information down in the show notes to make sure that they have the Focus 2024, the registration, all of that in there. So what last question I have for you is, what words of encouragement do you have for loan originators today? Because we're in a difficult market. It's October of 2023. Things have been tough. We went from having 2 to 3% rates to 7-8% rates. There's been a lot of things that have gone on, but people have persevered. There's been plenty of people that have done really well in this market because they're doing the right activities, which are the sales activities and relationship, having relationships and things like that. But what words of encouragement would you have for us as president of NAMB, as a mortgage broker yourself?
First of all, I will say, I know there's a lot of comparisons between 2008 and 2023. It is not the same.
Nothing
Trust
like
me,
it.
as somebody that experienced 2008, and when I remember going to work, the beginning of 2008, it literally felt like a giant faucet turned off and my business decreased by 75% overnight.
It did.
It is not the same. Business is still out there. Are we in a challenging market? Yes. Will this eventually subside? Absolutely. Is it going to subside sooner rather than later? Yes. But I think, take this time to take advantage of what is out there, whether that is coming to NAMB Focus or attending one of our webinars or taking advantage of the educational trainings that your wholesale lender is offering, or being part of groups like Mortgage Marketing Animals or all of the sales and training programs like you have available. Take this time to get your strategy together and, really tackle it. There's plenty of people out there whose business has grown purely by referral. So I know, my one of my business partners in South Florida, he's consistently doing, 8 to 12 transactions a month. It's still a great time to buy, still cheaper than renting. Properties are still out there. There's still first-time home buyers that need us to help them. Like I said before, have a positive attitude. If you are thinking negatively and get so bogged down in the negative parts of what's happening, it's going to be very difficult to overcome into the positive part. But we have to remember, this is our profession. This is a career. And if you want it to be your career and your profession, adapt and overcome. It's going to be better. We got a positive announcement coming out of MBA going into 24, and even more positive into 25. And don't focus on 2020 and 2021.
Exactly.
When was the last time we had a pandemic? 100 years before then. And that market was artificially created by the federal government.
Yes.
So something catastrophic would have to happen for that type of a market to come around again. And quite honestly, I don't want another catastrophic
No.
to happen. It wasn't fun to go
For
through
sure.
a pandemic, to have all of this uncertainty going on. And there was a lot of, yes, it may have been great for the mortgage industry, but there was a lot of other industries it wasn't great for.
For
The
sure.
service industry being one of them. And, so there's a lot of people that, although we would love to have low rates again, chances are it's probably not going to happen potentially in our lifetime. But it doesn't mean that rates aren't going to get back to what we consider a more manageable level, a more livable level, a level where sellers are going to be okay, or potential sellers, I guess I should say, with listing their home and finding someplace else to live. So all of these things will come back around. And, just kind of, in the words of Dory from Finding Nemo, just keep moving forward.
I love that.
No reason
That's
to
the
look
truth.
behind you. Just keep moving forward.
Yes, I love that. Well, thank you so much for being with us today, Valerie. It was really great having you on. I appreciate you taking your time. I know you've got a lot going on and you may not say no very often, but I'm sure glad you said yes this time. So thank you for being here. And I look forward to seeing you in January.
Yeah,
at
sounds
the
great.
Focus event.
So if anybody would like more information about the association, please go to our website at namb.org. That's also the place that you can go to look at our events calendar, to register for NAMB Focus using that discount code of Focus 2024. And also, as I said, my door is always open. So I do want to share my email address, which is valsaun@namb.org or president@namb.org. If you have a question, you need something, you're looking for a resource, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm always happy to help.
Thank you. That's such a big deal. Usually the president is so busy, they don't have as much of an open door policy. And I'm just talking about in organizations in general, but I'm glad that you gave us that. And so we'll put all of that in the show notes as well to make sure everybody has the resources available. So thanks once again, Valerie, for being here. I really appreciate you being here with us today. So everyone, enjoy your day.